I'm Alexander Morris, your host, and this is my beautiful co-host,
Bianca Loren. Yes, we have a great show today.
Yeah, we got an awesome show, and you already know how we do it. It's just free in what you want to say, how you feel, and we just talk as industry from a standpoint of the music industry, from musicianship, from production, and all the different elements of even how it affects us in our families and so forth. And so, to start, we have producer, drummer, J.R. Lamont.
Yes, JR.
Peace.
Also, we have the Rev, as we call him, Kevin Crosby, master keyboard player and pianist, singer, songwriter, and then also drummer of drummers, Mr. Kyle Wright, is in the building with us. Both of them, we all work together with the Tops. JR and I work together on a lot of records and so forth. And many of you don't know, Bianca Loren is a phenomenal singer in her own right.
Thank you.
Right.
I tried.
All right.
Thank
Right
you
now.
so much.
So, just don't jump right in. I noticed that in today's industry, even though we're young on some regards, it's a different mode in how people and young people view the industry.
Yeah.
And I watch a lot of young people have a mentality of superiority, or they feel like I'm entitled to this, but they don't understand there's a work ethic that goes behind getting where you gentlemen are. It's not an easy pull or push, and it's a sacrifice that is made. Most of us have families and things of that nature. So I'm going to start with Kyle, because knowing his story to some extent, but being on the drum line, all that type of stuff. Holler at me, Kyle. Talk to me.
Yeah.
Like, what is your view as it pertains to getting from the young kid that made it into college by his talent and his ability, but then takes that and is able to start to live the dream as they see it to be. It's not what you think it is.
Well, I mean, it's always been a dream for sure. I started out at church, of course. Then,
Everybody.
you know, that's most of our
You from
story.
Detroit.
Then,
how you get in.
then
They
I
open
think
doors.
my uncle took me to the Thanksgiving parade, and I saw like the marching bands and saw this big old drum. This dude was banging the mess out there. I'm like, that looked fun, dog. So it's like, all right. So I went home, told my mom, like, yo, I want to get in the band, like for real, for real. So that's when I kind of like took it a little more serious. And I always watched my older cousins, the older drummers and musicians and stuff, and was like, all right, man, that's what I want to do. Then I had a fascination with lights and stuff, man. So I'm like, I want to be on stage in front of thousands of people. Yeah, I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
So what I did was I set up my drums in the basement, cut out all the lights, and put a flashlight in front of the drums. I used to make everybody that come over my house,
Yes.
everybody had to come downstairs and get a concert. I don't care what you did.
Free.
Y'all get this concert.
So y'all go upstairs and play cards with my mama.
Come get this
Come
concert.
get this concert.
Got a good feature artist. Come on, Kyle.
So that's what it was, you know what I'm saying? So I always kept that in my heart.
Yeah.
I try to stay around the right people. And like you said, I got a scholarship to Alabama State, a band scholarship. So I met a lot of people there.
Right.
So being in college, you like, all right, what's about to happen after?
Right.
You know, so I'm like, all right, what I'm gonna do? So I came back home, you know what I'm saying, had to get back on the grind or whatever. But when it comes to making it to a certain level or getting a certain gig, it's really these days it's about who you know.
Right.
The audition phase is over with.
Really.
It's over.
It's
I'm
amazing
hearing
that
that.
you would say that.
Yeah.
Because last week, one of my guests was saying that too, Marcus Divine, and he was making the statement. He was like, a lot of things and opportunities that are coming are because of who you know, not necessarily because of your skill. Kev, from your perspective, because you've had a longer career than us. We're not giving away your age.
Oh, it's all right. It's all right.
proud,
It's
man.
all
You know,
right.
I'm just saying.
Got it.
But
Shots.
But
wrong with
what'd you say? Shots. No, but what it is-
Kevin proud.
But you have from an experience, you know what I'm saying, and still being relevant. And that's something to me that is important, is because a lot of times people have put an expiration date on ability.
Oh,
Do y'all
yeah.
agree? When it
yeah.
comes to the music
Oh, for
industry,
sure.
when it comes to ability, not recognizing that age has nothing to do with being relevant.
Yes.
Right.
Your ability and how you operate. Kev, talk to us from what Kyle was saying, from your perspective in the industry and what you've seen. Where are things now comparative to where things were when you started?
When I started,
Yeah.
wow.
When I started.
I kind of had started off like Kyle, basement parties.
Okay.
Actually, well, it was actually in the basement of a church.
There you go.
Wow.
My dad was in a quartet.
Okay.
And that's when I got a dual call.
Okay.
I got a call to ministry and to music
Right.
when I was 4 years old at one of
Okay.
my dad's programs. Back then, it was more about getting discovered by agents or, record companies, things
Right.
like that. You had to get your manager and all of that. But fast forward to now, you need to have some business skills.
Okay.
You have to have marketing skills
Right.
because it's more what you do on your own. It dictates your success nowadays. And you have so many more platforms.
Right.
The positive side of it, if you're willing to do the work, you're going to reap more of the benefits.
Say that.
Oh, yeah.
You hear story after story. I first started playing or trying to play in the 50s. So from that time, up until now, you didn't have folks like, not many folks like Beyonce or Jay-Z
Right.
who are in control of their destiny.
Right.
You did have James Brown.
Okay.
That was about it. James Brown, Otis Redding, who he didn't last very long because he died. But very few people were in control of their careers and of their lives.
Right. They were tied. Most of those artists at the time were tied to either
Record companies.
record companies, and they didn't have that ownership. And those are very few versus like what you're saying
Right.
now, where we have the ability to have that type of ownership.
Right. And even before Berry Gordy, it was Sam Cooke.
Right.
But as a race of people, it was very few and far between
Right.
when folks had control. And if you notice that most of the folks that we're naming didn't live very long lives.
And
Right.
they had
And the ones that
mysterious
did live
passings.
lived turbulent lives.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's say that
They
again,
just
They
Jay.
had mysterious passings.
Mysterious.
Very mysterious circumstances.
And I'm
Yes.
gonna shoot to J.R. Lamont because J.R. is an enigma to me. That's like
Very
my favorite brother, but he's
interesting. Yeah.
But the reason why I say that is because he's a drummer, very world renowned. Has played with a lot of majors, producer, a lot of records. But then he did something that I never seen a musician or producer do out of his age group.
Okay.
Bought a publishing company and went into the publishing game, which was going back to what you were saying,
Right.
having the mindset for business.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to you, JR, because we've worked together in different elements. What was the turning point to you that said, drumming is great, producing records is great, but I need to solidify something that makes me, that takes me to a place that I'm not disposable?
Well, I'm a student of my craft.
Okay.
And I never considered my craft to be drumming
Okay.
or producing. My craft was music. And so like as a student of music, that means, you got to study the whole thing. And so I understood what was happening from the creative standpoint as a drummer. I understood, and I understood what was happening from, or I won't even say a creative. I understood what was happening from a acting it out standpoint as a drummer. Meaning, like the drummer isn't necessarily always creating what's happening,
Right.
but they're brought in order to bring what is supposed to happen to life.
Yeah.
Right.
So I understood it from that aspect. I understood it from a producer and songwriter aspect. But I also grasped that, like, in order for things to get from these phases to where somebody was hearing them, and then where, say, a song came out now and then it could still be heard 10 years from now or 15 years or 20 years from now, that there was somebody who was making that happen. And I wanted to understand that portion of it because, you know, I had kids, and then I have, for whatever reason, because I came up in church and my dad, you know, was a pastor, I've always had this mindset of wanting whatever I learned to be something that I could share.
Right.
And so with me having a lot of younger guys that were gravitating towards me, it became, well, what can I do besides give them a record? Because
Got you.
once I give them the record, then what?
Then what?
Right.
You know
How
what I mean?
difficult was it for you to learn the publishing aspect of the business? Like, how long did that take you? How far did you have to go? Who did you talk to? And what were your hiccups? Like, how did that work? What was that like? What was the journey of that?
It's a process, and you have to be tenacious.
Yeah, you
like
do.
just like with anything, you have to be tenacious
Yeah,
because
you
a
do.
lot of people that learn and matriculate in the publishing industry don't freely share information.
Right. That's why I'm saying that.
You know,
That's exactly what I'm saying.
That's for
Because
sure.
there are people, so I'm like, who did you talk? How did you learn this information? What did you do?
So there's a book that I read along the way. I read a lot of books outside of music as well because I understand that music is a tool that is used in order to control,
Right.
you know, our population.
Yeah.
And so understanding, okay, well, what's really happening? Why are people controlling the population? Why is only certain types of music coming out, etc. I came across this book called Spook Who Sat by the Door. And it's about
Say that book again.
the spook who sat by the door.
The spook who sat by the door. Okay.
And it's about this. It was a melanated brother, who, like, long story short, it's a fictional book, but it's a reality-based fictional book, and it's about a brother who was brought into the CIA in the '60s. He was the first brother brought in to the CIA, and they really like marginalized, and so he played along to it. He played along with being marginalized and just kind of learned certain information in order to be able to extract the information that he needed. And then he went back to the neighborhoods that he grew up in Chicago, and he quit. You know, there was a gang in Chicago that, you know, he had a relationship with from when he was younger, and so he equipped the brothers in that gang with, hey, this is the way that you can maneuver in order to counter, you know, it's the '60s, so there's riots, police presence everywhere, National Guard in all the
Kinda like what we
cities.
do
I
now.
was about to say,
You know,
just like a right now, 20
History.
Pattern.
Pieces.
So he equipped the gang with how to be able to be present in the neighborhood without being noticed in the neighborhood. And so I extracted from that how to be in the rooms with certain people to where I could extract the information I needed,
Yeah.
but
Right.
not be somebody that anybody was looking at as a threat per se.
Right.
Because you're a threat, that's when they withhold information. When they think that you're, he can't do nothing, they speak freely.
Yeah.
So I had to learn how to be able to get in the room and make people feel comfortable enough to speak freely.
Very good.
Wow.
Excellent.
That's amazing because when I look at the nature of what we see as a music industry, it's not the same. So one thing that I guess it hurts my heart is when seems like every time I turn on the news or I scroll on Facebook, there's another young rapper. And ironically, in Chicago or from some of those areas, that has lost his life.
Right.
And to me, that is not what music represent or what we got into this for.
Exactly.
We got into this to be able to be good at something, but to be able to have a voice.
Right.
But what do you all notice that is happening in the industry, just even in your reach and in your dimension? Kyle, what do you see that is happening that is lending us to this mentality of destruction versus us pulling together?
Sadly, I'll have to say social media,
There it is.
reality TV.
Talk about it.
It's like, instead of doing it for the love. They're doing it for the popularity.
Right.
Okay.
Fame.
Big difference. So just like a lot of people you see on social media risking their life just for a few minutes of fame or just to get some likes. Like the young man that was running from the cops on Facebook Live, driving, talking junk on the phone. Yeah. They ain't about to get me. But as soon as he got out the car and started running, they shot him. So it's like, look at me. You know what I'm saying?
Crying for attention.
But when that camera get cut off, now he back in his reality.
Right.
And only the people that know him really know what's up. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's like people just really into it for the wrong reasons.
Right.
And if I outshine him,
Right.
he don't like me. And if I get too much shine, he gonna want to kill me.
That's crazy.
It's sad, but
It is.
you can
But
you
that's
can
the
see it
nature.
develop.
Yeah.
I watch stuff develop. I look at social media. I'm like, oh, that ain't good. He don't like him for that. The next thing you know, he gone.
Right. Rev.
That's not something new.
Right. Talk to me.
Wow.
You know, I mean, you can go back, way back. We were talking about 400 years ago when we've been pitted against each other.
Right.
In the 80s, folks were getting killed because of the gym shoes they were wearing.
Right.
You know, it's the same. The divide and conquer mentality has
Right.
not changed,
Right.
and it was before slavery.
Right.
There's just evil in the world.
Right.
There is evil. So, from my perspective, when I look at these things, there are different platforms.
Right.
That's a new word for me.
Right.
There are different platforms for the evil, but the evils are always existing.
Right. Right.
Bigger platform.
And
for
see,
evil.
the reason why Music Lounge at Stonehouse is important is because these are the conversations that we have when we're on the tour bus.
That's right.
These are the conversations that we have when we are in the studio and we're working on songs, especially when you have like-minded people. People think that when we get together, it's a party. No, we enjoy each
We
other's
work.
company. We're working, but when you're trying to give something to a world that, as Rev even said, where the evils have always been present, these are the conversations that we have that many of you don't know that we have, which is why you have a difference in the music that comes out of different camps.
Sure.
I have nothing against a person expressing themselves, but there's certain lyrics that, as a lyricist, I just can't write.
Right.
I have daughters. I have a son. But focusing on my girls, I have daughters. There are certain things that I would never want my daughters
Hear you say.
to hear me say.
Right.
Why? Because who they are is a direct representation and is indicative of how I show them a man is. And what I allow them to see, period. You follow what I'm saying? I know Rev has daughters. I know you have a daughter. You are a daughter.
Yes.
You follow what I'm saying? There's certain
Yes.
things that as fathers become protective of.
Right.
So how can I, and I'm gonna let JR catch this one. How am I, as a father, a love of God, and all of these elements that speak to this, how do I allow my lyrics or what I portray to be in complete opposition, and I say, but that's my artistry?
Wow. Wow. Contradiction.
People aren't, I don't believe, realizing that we are people first.
Right.
Like at the end of the day, when you put the microphone down, when the lights go off, like you said, there's the real, and then there's the presentation.
Right.
And we're dealing right now with a lot of monkey see, you know what I mean? And so like I think it's that way on purpose. Like at one point you had, plantations and things like that. Now the whole world is the plantation.
Yeah. There you go.
The whole world is the plantation.
For real.
And the slave masters stand in front of us and put their hand on the Bible and take oaths and do all kinds of things. Family lineage is still a thing.
Right.
You can trace a lot of the people who are standing in front of us and doing this now with their hand on the Bible. They trace back to a slave master. And so if you trace them back to a slave master, if I am who I am because of my ancestors,
there it is.
I mean, so I think people are also in us being in this monkey see, monkey do, instant gratification mindset. We've lost a hunger for history. Like one thing that was predominant, like before, for example, like back when we had shows like Living Single, Different World, stuff
Right.
like that were on TV, everybody had on like a college sweatshirt.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like even when they weren't talking about school, they were still subconsciously promoting like feed yourself something that you can actually build upon.
Right.
And now that's not the case anymore. And so if you can kill a plant at the root, then you can let the leaves do whatever. Eventually those leaves are going to die and fall off and the plant is not going to regenerate itself. So,
Right. Bianca,
That's
let me
been-
ask you this question.
Yeah.
You from a woman's point of view,
Okay.
and having worked with a lot of female artists, I always find myself in a position where I'm schooling them, or the guys that I work with, like Turhan was with us last week.
Yeah.
We almost step into like a dad role.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because our thing is, we know the pitfalls of this industry. And one thing I'm so glad about being in this podcast arena is that we're not centered in what we say.
Yeah.
And
Talk
certain
about it.
things we can say, and my thing is, it's a different field for a woman in this industry, because she's automatically, in many minds, compromised. Because, can we call a spade in the heart of heart?
Okay.
If it's who you know, a lot of it is for a woman who you sleep with.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's right.
Exactly.
What is your experience? Where do you see this, and how do we combat this? Where it's, because let me say this from a heterosexual male standpoint, I've never had a man put me in a position that I got to sleep with another man.
Right.
But I've seen, I've witnessed, I've heard, I've seen the elements of where we want, or a woman is expected to compromise herself
Oh yeah.
to have a position in the industry.
Exactly. You have to have the mind to stand. Period.
Yeah.
You've mentioned being in the studio and you feeling like the women that have come into your area, you mentored them, fathered them, daddied them, per se, because of what you said to them. And there's something in the woman that needs that.
Okay.
That needs that motivation or that that confidence. If a woman doesn't have it, most women will compromise. There's a thing that a woman has to learn how to stand.
Okay.
She has to learn and know what it means to be valued and to
Right.
be of value.
Okay.
And if they don't know that, there is a weakness in a woman where she would sacrifice herself and compromise her very self just to be accepted, just to get to that place. And it takes time. If a woman is broken, if a woman has needs, a lot of black women, we were raised with needs.
Talk about it.
Yeah.
We already came into the earth with need. And it's been a tumultuous journey. And it takes a strong man or a strong woman to gird that woman and to show her why she's valuable
Right.
and to make her understand that. If she doesn't, she will compromise. And then she's looked at as a bitch, or she's looked at as a whore or slut. But where were you to build her, who's talking to her, who grabbed her and showed her who she was. There are so many men that even fall into the trap of, okay, I know she weak, she not gonna stand, oh, I can do whatever I want to with her. She wanna be in the industry, oh, yep. Let's shake these numbers in front of her face and make her beg or make her bow, you know, and because of the weakness and that brokenness in her, she does bow. And who's gonna find her?
Let me play
You
devil's.
understand what I'm saying? So that's why.
Let me
Just
play
to
devil's
answer
advocate
you.
because I want to ask you something,
Yeah.
and anybody can grab it, but hearing exactly what you something that Jr. said earlier. There's always agents in the field.
Yeah.
They know.
So because I told my daughters there's a particular song that's out right now, and the pseudonym stands for wet ass pussy.
Yes. Yes. Yep.
I knew.
Yep.
You know I was doing it right.
And I
And my thing
We're gonna
is
talk
this,
about that. Go ahead.
and you'll
say it.
excuse my language, but that's the name of the song.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what WAP stands for.
Yes.
Yep.
I'm not degrading the writers or the artists or anything of that nature. But if these are the artists that we are putting in front of our children, an example of success, to me that compromises my daughters as women.
Yep.
That's my personal opinion. But they're successful. They're in private planes. They've got money. They've got to this. They've got to that. Their voice has now a power because of their celebrity. But this is their promote. I saw your hand go up.
Just wait a minute. Okay, go ahead. Lord have mercy. What you about to say? Ready.
Have a real inverse idea of what success is, and that's the problem.
Yes.
Like they're viewing the planes and all these different things as success. They don't know them women go home and hate themselves.
Yeah.
So they might have all the money, supposedly, which is really somebody else's money that they're being allowed to wear and present as their own.
Okay.
Rented.
Not really actually their money, you know what I mean? But they're presented as successful in order to lure the next one in to the same track.
It's a game.
So it's back to patterns again. It's the same thing over and over and over again because, this trap works. So we just gonna keep the trap here.
But you can't say that to a little girl. She don't know what you're talking about.
That's where it's our job,
Exactly.
as the people out here, actually really in the trenches.
Yeah.
Like my daughter don't know that song.
Yeah, right. Right. But it's hard for her not to see it. You understand what I'm saying? Women are out here, they're getting, those butt lifts and things like that. And they're walking around the street like that. Let alone you seeing it on the internet or on, social media, whatever. They're walking around. So it's like, what if she's singing it in the street and you like, Daddy, what is that? She's going to see it. You understand what I mean? And it's out there. It is out there and it's necessary. Because first of all, I love Cardi B. I love her story. She's been through a lot. I love Meg the Stallion story. She, was talking about her mom, how her mom was a rapper. Because she was inspired by her mom because her mom was a rapper. And she said, there is no rappers in Texas. And I need to represent Texas. Yes, the great B, she's from Houston. But Meg was like, I want to represent Texas. I love her story. She grinded. I mean, did her thing, rapped. Her mom raised her. Her mom unfortunately died of brain cancer. But I would not reject Meg because of what she's doing. Something convinced her to even act that way and say that it was okay to do that. Am I going to go out and put my body out there like that? I'm not going to do that. I won't do that. First of all, my dad will kick my ass, because my dad was strict. My dad, San Juan in Detroit, my dad was strict. He raised me strict. I used to hate how strict my father was. I mean, it was times we had to stay in the backyard and could not go outside. And I was in high school. My friends didn't even know I was on the block. But to this day, I'm grateful for his protection, for his guide and to represent myself as a woman. Am I perfect? Absolutely not. No. But they're out there. And what are you going to do? You have to have a stand. You have to stand.
Yeah.
You just got to, you just got to stand. And it's hard to hide this music from these women, from the children. You just have to be like, look, this is out here. It's real. This is what it is. You have to talk about it.
Oh, no,
Don't
yeah.
hide about it.
So that's what I was about to say
Talk
to
about
Rev.
it.
So Rev, we combat certain things with knowledge.
Sure.
So that means we have to have the hard conversations.
And
Even though we are in this industry, you know what I'm saying? We're in the industry, and a lot of times blanket statements are made. And so when they say you're a singer, you're a producer, you're a this, if it's industry related,
Yeah.
we all get grouped.
Oh yeah.
Label.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? It's the
Yeah.
same thing. But what they don't understand is, for many of us, that is the greatest war in us, is that I am associated with demonic activity, but that's not who I am.
But that's not
Real.
Right.
Nice. Nice. You were talking about that earlier. Like,
Wow, that's you hit on something there, man. That's the story of my life. People wonder, how can you play secular music and be a pastor?
That part.
Well, I know you get it.
wow.
We
Oh yeah,
both got it.
because I'm a pastor
So you're
and
a
I'm
pastor?
supposed
Yes.
to I'm supposed to do things this way, and I'm not ever supposed to get outside of those lines.
Wow.
Or even as a musician, it's the other way too.
Right.
We were in New York not too long ago, well, before COVID.
Right.
And we were on a show with Mary Wilson. And who was it? Was it you?
What?
We were in the dressing room. Her band was waiting to get paid. And we were in the dressing room, and there was some young ladies that came in there.
Oh yeah, I was there. Yeah.
What happened?
What did you do?
I ain't do nothing.
So-
I ain't do
Young
nothing.
ladies
So we're-
came in.
We're just sitting there, just having general conversation. Oh, it was Dula. And the first thing he did, he says, "I'm going to tell him you're a Rev." I'm like, "Don't tell him that, because people are going to change. I want people to, be themselves, and I don't want to make anybody uneasy." And for some strange reason, folks, especially folks who are, I wouldn't even say that. Folks who are in the church get uptight. Folks who aren't in the church get
Get
uptight,
uptight.
or they get angry.
Yeah.
Right.
They both.
And they change out. And sure enough, Dula, who was Duke Jr.,
Open this pie hole.
opened his mouth and said, "I want to introduce y'all to the Rev.
Oh.
He's the pastor of a church." And just before he said that, I mean, everybody was, and I mean,
There's a hush.
I've heard it all.
Now it's an
And I
awkward silence.
I wasn't always I wasn't always a pastor either.
Right.
So I've done a whole lot of things. I've lived life.
Right.
So I do understand a lot of things. I don't agree with a whole lot of things, but I understand.
Yeah.
I have the tough conversations with my daughters. My youngest one is 26. And since they were able to understand anything, we talked about real stuff. Because I got one that's man crazy. She was man crazy at 5, writing on the upholstery on my car seat how she loves this boy that's in her class. So we have real
Big
conversations. Oh, it's real.
Like, baby, no.
Welcome to the
And
music lounge.
she's 26 right now, and I still have to have the same conversations with her. But your question is about the compartmentalization.
Right.
Why do they put us? I don't know. It's easier for people to deal with you on their terms, and so many things that we're talking about is connected when it comes to that.
Right.
You talk about social media. Again, I say that stuff has always been there. That craziness has always been around, but
Just got a bigger platform now.
and so many more platforms. It's not what it should be. You said something earlier. Know the truth,
Right.
right? And I do believe that is the beginning of trying to fix things.
Yeah.
But then again, I am a pastor. I don't think we can fix it by ourselves until we position ourselves for the fixing.
Right.
So how did you become comfortable with your craft, knowing that you were a pastor and people would speak against you? How did you?
Well, I was a musician first.
There you go.
I was a musician first.
Okay.
I'm gonna jump in with Rev
like
on
that.
this because JR and I share the fact that we're both pastor sons.
Oh,
My
all right,
dad was
okay.
a bishop here in the city of Detroit. I grew up in one of the most what we would consider stringent facets of Christianity. I grew up apostolic. Somebody said,
Yeah.
and the apostolic movement was stringent in what we were allowed to do, where we could go, what we could wear, and all these different elements. There were certain conversations that we did not have because just to even ask about it could get you sat on the front row for the next 6 months.
Oh my God.
You feel me?
Just life questions.
Just life questions.
Yeah.
No,
Yes.
seriously.
That's awful.
I don't criticize
like that.
our forefathers because they were trying to teach us how to live a certain way
Right.
and to live with restraint and with a discipline. But you can't control people by fear.
Yeah, you become curious.
I was one of the first, I guess, in my generation age group to be preaching, working in the music department at my father's church, but I was signed to Keith Crouch and Human Rhythm in Los Angeles working on Brandy's album.
Right.
You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah. Wow.
I became the one that the fingers were being pointed at
Yes.
because you're not saved or
Black
you're
sheep.
not
Right.
Christian anymore because you are operating and you're doing this and you're doing that. But in my field of music, what I write about, what comes out of me, there's a scripture in a proverb that says, "Whatsoever man thinking in his heart, so is he."
So is he.
So I write what's in my heart. If my heart is for the realities of life, but with respect and understanding, then there's certain things that I'm not going to write about. Or if I am to write about it, it's said in a way that is not going to be misconstrued as being vulgar
Right. Yeah.
Right.
or detrimental or
Yeah.
inappropriate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I recognize you once something leaves you, you can't control
Where it goes.
where it goes or a person's perception of it.
Right.
That's right.
Right.
And you can be in the church and do that.
When I
On the
became
pulpit.
when I
Say
became a four top, I had just left Los Angeles and I was pastoring a church in LA and was pastoring here in Detroit.
Wow.
And then when the door opened to me and I became, and the first thing someone told me says, "Well, you know, there's another pastor in the tops with you,
Yeah.
Rev." And I didn't need validation because my relationship with God is what my relationship is, and I really don't care what anybody else has to say about it.
Right.
That's just me.
That's the bottom line,
That's the bottom
though.
line. But my thing
Bing.
is, but I
That is.
had
It is.
That was
opposition.
my drum.
I had opposition because how can he say sugar pie honey and say this scripture over here this doesn't so? Life is life.
You ain't got a sugar pie?
Right.
I got a wife.
Who you
Yeah,
Right.
you oughta. You just ought to.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right.
It's
Just
like
ought
they
to.
take away life from you. It's as if, it's banned. You
Yeah.
know, like I feel like sometimes the church will it's like they censor certain things
Sure.
when they should teach you and teach you about yourself. And there's nothing wrong with that, and it should be worldwide. It should be a universal thing
I think-
and not restricted. You
I
know
think
what I mean?
sometimes it
and
goes
I
to
get
the-
it. I get
Yeah.
that. I'm sorry.
No, you good.
I'm talking today. I get that there is a boundary. And yes, absolutely, you have to have them. What side you want to be on, period. But as a soul, as a spirit, you were born with a gift. You were born. Like some people can just sing and weren't taught to sing. You know what I mean? What if you're singing about trees and about the sky? Are you going to be damned? Because it's not about God. You put God's name in it.
What?
But the church will say, if it's not about God, don't sing it. And that's not fair. because there is a thing called free. And you should be free.
Well, it doesn't
in your
even stop
craft.
there.
What is-
It doesn't stop there.
What does
So
God
that's
say
just-
his name
It's
is?
a lot.
What did God say his name is?
I am.
I am.
I am. That means
All
I am
things.
trees. I
Yes.
am birds.
All things.
I am that loving relationship.
That's right.
I am that destructive relationship too.
Yeah.
Like,
you teach
like
both of
all
them.
of that. All of
Yes,
that.
yes.
And like we because we're finite beings, or we have this finite perception, we try to put our finite perception on something that is infinite.
Yes.
And that's why I
Oh, that was the answer to my question.
There you go.
Yes.
It's
Welcome
funny.
to the music lounge.
You know, see, this is the people
There's
don't
so much to say.
understand
Yeah.
that outside of music, as JR said, we're people.
Yeah. you
And
are.
and there's a fight and a struggle. There's a sacrifice that we've all had to make
Sure.
in order to survive in this thing that is the music industry, because people see it as an industry, and for us it's our career.
Yeah.
To us it's the same as the young man or the young woman who does 40 years at Chrysler or at GM or at Ford. This is our Chrysler, GM, and Ford. It's just,
It's a livelihood.
it's a livelihood.
Yeah.
You know, and when I think of that, it makes me also think of like even what we're dealing with right now in the pandemic. People don't understand because they have a perception that once you got records or you're playing with a major group or you're on a major tour,
Yeah.
that your pockets are dragging behind you and that we're not affected.
Oh man.
Right.
Of all the industries that have gone back to work or have had elements of work,
Yeah.
Yeah.
those of us that operate in our genre,
It's a struggle.
it's we can't go back to work yet. Like, how is that affecting you? I mean, you are the drummer.
Man, it's rough. So, thank God I'm not too proud to get my hands dirty and to go back to my childhood of hustling legally.
Legally.
Lead, go lead.
Legally.
Yeah.
All right.
I understand.
That's good.
No, man, like I was talking to Jay, I was telling them about how when the thing hit, we were actually on the road when they shut us down.
48 hours on a tour bus.
Look, we was in San Antonio, drove all the way to Denver.
No,
and-
we was an hour outside of Pueblo.
We were at Pueblo.
Oh, see,
And we got an hour outside of Pueblo, and they called and said the show
and
was
show was
canceled.
canceled.
And we had to go
All the way back to the crib,
to Denver, and then
then back to the
And
crib.
driving, yeah, in the bus.
This was March 14th. I ain't gonna never forget this.
March 14,
March 14th.
2020.
It was like, then we found out the NBA season got canceled. That's when we knew something was like, this is like, ain't no joke.
and we found this out all on the tour bus.
All on the
Yeah.
tour bus. So it's like, all right, man. When that happened, I'm like, all right, survival mode kicked in. Like, all right, when I get home, just like he said, he ain't seen me since. Since we got,
We got off the bus. This is the first time I've seen Kyle in person since March.
hey, look,
Wow.
but no, I had to go to survival mode. Like, what's next? You know what I'm saying? So, man, I start doing landscaping. You know what I'm saying? Start helping my boy clean out houses. I work in the funeral business part time, but I kind of stepped away from that because I wasn't trying to catch that stuff. You know, because it was like it was bad. You know, I went for a couple days and seeing bodies stacked on top of each other like never before. We had to stop accepting bodies.
Wow.
The funeral home, you know, would refuse money.
Right.
There was no room. So reality kicked in. Like I said, I just went to hustle mode, man. It's like, all right, this is a reality check. What else do you have long term
Say that.
besides, you know, yeah, I love music, but I need some for show.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So this was just I think it's a reality check for everybody in entertainment and any other thing that could be shut down. What do you have to fall back on? Yeah, I saved my money. which is why how I lasted. But you know what I'm saying?
So is that what you tell an artist?
What?
Always to have something to fall back
Or
on.
you always have a backup plan. Like, don't be too proud because you're an artist or because you this world-renowned musician.
Right.
To have a hustle.
Right.
If you do nails, do nails. If you cut hair, cut hair. But are you gonna at the same time?
At the same time.
So it's like people
Stop one.
people are so like image conscious. Like, oh man,
Right.
I can't have nobody seeing me cutting no grass. What?
You better
You
get
cutting that
lawnmower.
grass is the
man.
difference between you eating today.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
You better
So-
get on that lawn.
So it's like, man, you know, Pop's not here no more. I can't ask my Pops to borrow no money.
Right.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's either sink or swim. You know what I'm saying?
But he, in a way, he still is here because
here.
he's the one that taught you how to
Exactly.
survive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He sure
Exactly.
did.
Instill that in you.
He sure did. Because he always told me, like, you either going to go to school or go to work. I ain't going to make you go do either one. But you gonna pick one.
Because here's the thing, life is gonna pick it for you.
It's going to pick it.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
sure.
Because life will pick it for you.
Sure.
Yes,
I tell
it
people
will.
all the time. I said, I work around the clock, nonstop. He'll
Yes.
tell you, it'll be 3 or 4 days of me in my office working, and I have not slept because I have a responsibility of a family.
That's
you
right.
know what I'm saying?
Wait till you get 65.
And my thing is,
Don't
at the end of the
sleep.
day, I'm not a person that's big on excuses. My father, God rest his soul, Bishop used to say this. He said, when a man doesn't do what he's supposed to do, the first thing you look for is an excuse. And he said, and what is a reason to you is an excuse to the person who was depending on you.
Ooh.
Because that
You follow what I'm
means
saying?
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, they're left without.
nothing. Right.
That's right.
So am I too proud because of the position that I may hold in the public eye?
Say that.
As Kyle was saying, not to do what I have to do from a legal standpoint.
Yeah.
Legal.
It's a shame we got to say that, but from a legal standpoint,
Yeah.
to make sure that the provisions are made that if my daughters go and flip the light switch, the light come on. That if they turn the heat dial up, they can feel a change in the temperature in the house. That if they go to the refrigerator and open the door,
Yeah.
there's food in there. It's just not a picture with some Kool-Aid in it.
Right. Right.
You follow what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's important. And I'm gonna go to you, JR, because you are hands in everything.
Everything.
But I watch how you even like with the children. I remember when I first met JR. JR, beautiful studio. And I called him one day and he was like, I need to call you back because I'm training right now at Starbucks because I'm learning how to make coffee.
Hustler, man.
Yes. Learn.
And he said it with such like, and I mean, and to me, I was like, I mess with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he's gonna make sure that if this ain't happening, I've got an avenue to make sure that the 2 little miles that look to me, they're gonna be taken care of. Go ahead, JR.
So the reason I got involved with Starbucks is actually because I said to myself, yeah, I have ways to employ my money and do various other things, but we're always getting teased with like the economy shutting down. Like that's a constant tease. And so I looked at what businesses that you go to that you can actually physically work look like they're not going anywhere. Starbucks ain't going nowhere.
Nowhere.
And so I said to myself, well, I only worked a couple days a week, but I went in order to be able to get my name circulating in the company and build my name in a good way. And then, I did it for, 2 years, 3 years, and eventually walked away. But when I walked away, even right now, I could call Starbucks
Still got a relationship.
and be like, yo, can y'all put me on the schedule?
Nice.
And be able to go if everything else shut down. You know what I mean? Like they shut down so many other things. Starbucks stayed open.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Starbucks stayed open. But you know what I mean? Like in addition to that, like you're supposed to have more than one stream of income. Like that's if you look it up statistically, they say millionaires have like 6 to 7
Yes.
Right.
streams of income. That doesn't mean like 6 to 7 ways I make money in music. That means 6 to 7 ways in different arenas for me to make money. So like I have jewelry, thecopperpeople.com. My wife is
That was a plug. Copperpeople.com.
Copperpeople.com.
Okay.
If you look up the original definition of American in the original Webster's Dictionary, Webster's Dictionary is like the standardized dictionary for the United States. And the original dictionary published by Noah Webster, he defined American as the copper-colored races found here by the European, but now applied to the European. So that says to you that when they arrived here, they found people here looking like us.
Copper.
So,
I like that.
They've thrown so many different other colors at us and things like that because encoded in this, going back to your point about legal, there's a difference between legal and lawful. And they've put a lot of legal statutes in here that have codes on them. And so now we have this perception of like we have black pride and there's white people and all these different things, but those are codes. And if you don't know the codes, you're taking pride in a code that may be incurring something upon you that you do not wish to incur upon you. I won't take up much time with that. I'll just let you research that.
So you
right.
have your jewelry. That's the business of Stream. And then you had Starbucks.
So I have my jewelry.
Yeah.
I have Starbucks. I have a publishing company.
Nice.
And in the publishing company that spiraled into advertising and me working with other filmographers and getting into doing commercials, and things of that nature. And then the way that I modeled the publishing company was to connect with other people who had other business skills. So like web developers,
Right.
things like that. So that way, this one single business becomes several different businesses. So at any point, something comes in, instead of saying, I can't do that, I say, let me figure out how to do that for you.
Right.
Because that's
There's never a can't.
right.
Yeah.
Let me figure out how to.
Right. Back to your point.
So like going back to you are who you know, if you build a strong network, of people with many different skill sets, then no matter what work comes in, you have a way of being able to facilitate that work. And it might, this time, the amount that is being paid or being offered for this particular work might not be enough for both of us to eat. I'm going to feed you. I'm going to make sure that you eat because you're going to remember, oh man, JR came and made sure such and such happened. So now when something comes to you, you're going to come and bring that back
There
to
you
the
go.
table.
And
Right.
it causes a.
There you go.
You know what I mean? So
Pattern.
now you have group economics working,
Right.
and as opposed to systemic economics.
Very
Right.
good.
So I have to throw this in there. As JR was talking about the copperpeople.com. Last week when we had Marcus Divine,
Yes.
Marcus was talking about, he said that Master P, that's his coach. And he said Master P made the statement that if you want to be successful, sell something. And so he created a line of sunglasses. And I was wearing a pair of his last week, and they're called Shades of Divine. And you can go to shadesofdivine.com because I want to push that, as well as
I bought a pair for my wife.
you bought a pair for your
Nice.
wife.
Is it DEVINE or DIVINE?
DIVINE.
Oh, DIVINE.
And
Shades of
and
Divine.
my god brother and I, we came up in the industry together. His nickname everybody knows him as Slam, but his name is Shannon Ridley. And I remember when he came to me, and he said, "Bro, I got an idea and a concept for something," and it was backpacks. And when we first began to talk about it, folks laughed us to scorn. What, you guys gonna be outside of Target back to school? Well, back to school sales.
Sure does.
And
Yeah.
he created a concept of a backpack called Whiz Pack that has taken over in celebrity circles because of the type of bag that it is. And he's going to be on the show this soon. But my thing is, there's got to be, like Kyle said, something else that sustains you beyond our playing, our singing, or whatever. And that's the thing that I noticed that with a lot of younger guys or guys that have not been around seasoned cats. They will base their livelihood off of their calendar.
Wow.
Have you noticed that?
Yep.
Yeah.
Because I think we all have been there. Okay, I make this much, and we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We got 11 shows this month. So that means I can go do this, and do this. And we'll put that into play. And we haven't even done those dates yet, not thinking those dates could get canceled. And you're spending money, technically, that you don't have. So that means you're living beyond your means.
Right.
And that's why I feel like a lot of cats got hit hard
Sure.
in the pandemic
Ooh-wee.
because they had not learned. You don't count that money until that money is in your hand.
Right. Yes.
You follow what I'm saying?
Yes.
And I think those are the elements that make the industry and all of its facets. It is important for us to have these conversations.
Yes.
These are the conversations that nobody would think that we have.
Right.
And so this is why Bianca and I came together
Yeah.
to do the music lounge at the Stonehouse Bar, because we just wanted to invite the world into what is actually our life. Not what you see on the commercialized television shows that make you think everybody's balling out of control. The cat fights and the fights over who's the best. And we wanted to show the world this is really who the people are that sustain the music industry. And these are the conversations that we have, because we have to lean on each other a lot of times.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we call and check on each other. So we that's why this forum for us is important. And I want to thank Rev, Mr.
Thank
Kevin
you.
Crosby. I want to
Thank
thank Kyle Wright. I want to thank J.R. Lamont. And you know I thank you, baby.
Thank you. I thank all of you. This was so informing. I enjoyed all three of you.
Oh,
Such a joy and a
Thank
gift.
you.
For speaking from your perspective.
Yeah.
Even though you're
I-
co-host, but I thank you because
Thank you.
it takes a lot of strength
Yeah.
and as my mother would say, moxie, but it takes a lot of heart to publicly say what you said. And I want
Yes.
to thank you for that, because
Thank you.
I honor you for that.
Thank you.
And so this is the Music Lounge, live at the Stonehouse Bar.
Stonehouse Bar.
I'm Alexander Morris, and this is my co-host Bianca Loren.
Bianca Loren.
And these are our family, and we will see y'all next week. God bless.
Peace, peace.
Peace.
Love.